Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. We have two Canadian blended whiskeys. They're both 80 proof, the standard proof. They have no age statement, which means they're aged at least 3 years. Now, in Canada, if there's no age statement, it's a 3-year minimum requirement. In the United States of America, it's a 4-year minimum. We're dealing with Canadian right now. Okay, there's no website for these, so sorry, I can't direct you to that or put a link below. I know they're made by Sazerac, and this one here is Royal Canadian. It's got a brown bottle, which is good. Brown glass protects the whiskey from light damage, which is not common to occur, but it can occur. Okay, so there's Royal Canadian, introduced in 1934. The label has not changed for decades. I bought this bottle for $8.99 at Discount Depot on United States Highway Business Route 90 or 90 Business Route in Marrero, Louisiana. Total Wine has it, but I don't know what their price is because I never bought it there. I just already had it. I bought a half-size bottle once. That's gone, and then I bought this, so I wasn't going to buy any more. But it's got the shield, the maple leaf for Canada, and then it's got, what else it's got on there? 2 lions holding up the shield, and a horse head, and there's some banner saying something, but it's so small you can't see it. Imported, naturally. If you bought this in Canada, it would not say imported. Imported. Blended Canadian whiskey distilled under supervision of the government of the Dominion of Canada. All whiskey, that's a meaningless statement because all whiskey is produced under the supervision of either the government of the United States or the Dominion of Canada or the Irish Republic, depending where it's made. If it's not, then it's illegal, illicit products that are made in secret without supervision. Okay, but anyway, product of Canada. All right, we get that. But it's imported and bottled in the United States by it says by Sazerac Company, Frankfort, Kentucky. And that's at Buffalo Trace Distillery, okay? If you go on a tour at Buffalo Trace, you're not going to see this. They do these at night. Buffalo Trace is going to say, look, we're making Ancient Age. We're making Old Charter. We're making the Great Buffalo Trace. We're making Blantons. Let's go look at them let's go watch them make the Blantons. Let's go watch them make the Stag. And Eagle Rare, and all that. Okay, so here's the competitor. Here's this is the one that's going to be in the tournament against everybody. So this is the control group. That's actually the competitor. This is Canadian Peak, and it's purple, like down here, talking about a blend of premium Canadian, and everything's premium Canadian whiskeys mellowed in white oak casks to achieve an exceptional flavor and smoothness. Now, I know this was written in the United States, and they didn't pick it up because it's flavor, Flavor, not flavor, as you would get in Canada or England. So, somebody in Kentucky wrote this up. And then they're showing the mountains, you see. Canadian Peak embodies the adventurous spirit of the Canadian Rockies with its bold, rich creaminess and spicy finish. Now, I agree with that. It is creamy and it is a spicy finish. This exemplary Canadian is expertly aged in select oak barrels, resulting in a perfectly balanced, mellow whiskey that's as worthy of exploration as Canada's great outdoors. Product of Canada. We get that. Bottled by County Line Distillers, Louisville, Kentucky. Well, Sazerac told me that Louisville has no bottling plant or any such thing. It's just an office where he said lawyers work. So the man on the phone told me if it says Louisville, it really means Frankfort, Kentucky at Buffalo Trace, because that's where the production facility is. And they also have distilleries in Barton, not in Barton, Barton in Bardstown, Kentucky, and Glenmore in Owensboro, Kentucky. So Sazerac has 3 Kentucky distilleries: Owensboro and Glenmore in the west, Bardstown in the central, and Frankfort in the east central part. Okay, so I'm glad I caught that little error there. It's Canadian whiskey, but you just know an American wrote that up, and somebody here in the U.S. states, because they didn't put the OUR. But yeah, it's no big deal, but it is an error. Now, do they sell this in Canada? Really, I don't know, but I bet you they don't. Just that error right there would tell me that they do not. But you know what? It may never have been sold in Canada. When they introduced this in and it was a much different bottle, I bet you. When they introduced this in 1961, I bet you it was a U.S. export-only product. Then and now, Royal Canadian, is this sold in Canada? I really couldn't tell you. I guess I could try to find out looking at the LCBO or one of the other liquor control boards. But I'm not that concerned about it. I guess if somebody in Canada wanted to know, they could tell me, I mean, you know what I mean? They could do the research. They would probably have an idea. The price for the Canadian Peak. It was like $16. So now we're looking at a pretty big difference. $8.99 versus Royal Canadian versus $15.99 for Canadian Peak. You would hope the Canadian Peak would be better. Well, they're certainly not the same appearance. You say, well, they look like whiskey to me. I know, but I have a close-up perspective, and the Canadian Peak is darker. It's darker, more like into the copper range, whereas the Peak is just gold like Crown Royal. Okay. We know that Crown Royal is the #1 selling whiskey in the United States of any type. You say, yeah, you mean in the class, #1 Canadian whiskey. No, I mean of any. It was, and now it's overtaken Jim Beam and Jack Daniels. So how about that? The #1 selling whiskey in the USA is Crown Royal. It's definitely #1 in Louisiana, and it's been so for many years, but it's finally become #1 in the whole. Now, it may not be by much. And maybe Jack Daniels next year will pass it up again or something like that. They're battling it out for the #1 spot. Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, and Crown Royal. But it's definitely a major player. It's not even owned by a Canadian company anyway. Crown Royal is owned by a London-based company called Diageo, who owns Guinness beer. They really are Guinness beer. They just call themselves Diageo to have the umbrella company name. Because somebody was telling me, yeah, Diageo bought Guinness. I said, no, Diageo is Guinness, okay? They didn't buy themselves. They bought a lot of other people. All right. Sazerac is family owned. It's owned by a man and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. Bill Goldring, William Goldring Jr. He must be almost 90 years old. I don't know what's going to happen with the company. I don't know how many children they have. A lot of times when the people pass on, that's when things start to go haywire. If there's no clear inheritor, it's anybody's game then. Okay. Yeah, and then Jim Beam is owned by the Japanese company Suntory Holdings, and Jack Daniels is owned by a family-owned company, Brown-Forman, family owned. American family too. All right. It smells like wood, barrels. And this smells like wood barrels. The thing I noticed about the doggone Royal Canadian is that it's very wood, and not a whole lot more. Like you get the corn, it's got rye, tastes like barley malt, malt whiskey, barley whiskey, but it isn't a whole lot. It doesn't taste like they're adding any other flavorings like brandy or some kind of barrel aged wine or any kind of like rum or anything such as that. And if they are adding it, it's clearly not a lot. Now, the Canadian Peak, yeah, it seems like they're adding more outside elements. Can't go much above 9%. But up to 9.09, I think, can be non-whiskey products, which is not allowed in bourbon. See, so that differentiates the two taste. Trying to check the time. There's a lot of sweet sugar water, which is the corn syrup. You know what I'm saying? Like the corn, the sweet corn. Corn is so sugary, in many cases. Definite wood action going on with barrels. Are they using freshly charred oak? Never before used virgin oak barrels? No. That's really not the tradition. In Canada, they typically use what they call seasoned barrels. Sounds better than used, right? Used bourbon barrels, just like they'll sell you in a pre-owned car, not used. It's the same thing. Okay. It's not a problem. It's just what they use. Most scotches age in used barrels. They don't want that heavy char flavor. Oh, well, this one is sweet as well, but there's wood on it now, but there's a lot of ethanol. I hate to say it. You say ethanol. Yeah, like, corn liquor. They put that in gasoline. It's corn spirits. It's just they take corn grits, yellow usually, don't have to use yellow, can use white. Distill it, get pure alcohol from it, and they blend it with they age it for 3 years. Then in wood barrels, then they blend it with the rye whiskey and the barley whiskey. They can use wheat whiskey also if they would care to do that. But this tastes like really heavy corn, so I'm thinking it's at least 80%, and it may be higher than that. What are the percentage requirements? Well, there aren't any. Only for that flavoring deal, and beyond that, you could just mix and match however you would like to do it. So the one good thing about Canadian whiskey is so much variety available with the mash bills, and in the United States too. I mean, as long as bourbon's 51% corn, anything else is open season, and you can just do anything. So they're not too restrictive either. Is Canadian whiskey that different from bourbon? Yeah, it is in a way, because you can add the flavorings, which you can't do with bourbon unless it's blended bourbon. You can do that with blended bourbon. That's a type of bourbon. That's an actual type of bourbon. It's called blended bourbon. But and then Canadian whiskey is allowed to age it in used barrels. They don't have to. They could use new barrels if they care to. But I mean, it's mostly corn spirits, but then so is Scotch, and so is Irish whiskey. So they're all similar in that case. Naturally, in Ireland and Scotland, they don't have to use corn at all. You get single malt whiskeys in Scotland. It's all barley malt, no corn, no wheat, in any of those, or no rye. You see, this all how you want to make it. I I don't see any I don't see any necessity or even any positive results from just sticking to one style, like some militant philosophical reason, you know, like I only drink single malt whiskey. Yeah, but why? You know, I mean, if you said to me, well, because I like it, well, that'd be a very good reason. But if it was for some like philosophical reason, I would say, no, I think your philosophy is bad. Okay. Yeah. They both have this ethanol thing going on with it, but are these that different from Crown Royal? No. And so if you want to go pay $25 for a bottle of Crown Royal or 24 on 23 on sale, go ahead. Your money, of course. But I would just pay $8.99 for Royal Canadian. Is it inferior to Crown Royal? I mean, yeah, but just like a little bit. You know, it's not $16 inferior. It might be $2 inferior. But like I say, it's your money. Do what you want. Is Canadian Peak a good substitute for Crown Royal? Yes, I think it is. You're saving $9 every time. May as well save. I mean, it doesn't have as pretty of a bottle, but it's still a very nice looking bottle. And here's something: Crown Royal just has a twist cap, plastic twist cap, plastic crown. This one has a real cork and a wooden cap. Now, it doesn't make the whiskey better, but it's nicer looking. You know, it's nice. Real cork, not pressed board cork, a real chunk of cork. So Sazerac kind of went kind of, you know, they went nice on that. All right, news is starting. So I'm going to call it. I think now, as far as these, they're so close. They're so close. Just get the Royal Canadian. It's not the best looking bottle. You know, it look like old school 1962 bottle or whatever. But you're not losing anything really on the flavor. So I think this is the Canadian Peak. It is. All right. It was something about the creaminess that tipped me off. It's slightly more creamy, but I mean, it's so minimal. I'm not paying $10 for creaminess that's barely perceptible. Sorry, I'm not doing it. But anyway, good challenge. But Royal Canadian wins. It wins again because it's $8.99 and it's not really much worse than the others. It's not worse at all, actually. Maxwell, good morning to you in the Russian Federation. Well, I got to go. Turning on the news. Y'all take care now.